So a Florida couple buys a house for $450,000. 2 years later, they haven't moved in and they haven't closed on the property. Now the builder wants to jack up the price another $200,000 to make it a total of $650,000 for the purchase of this new built home. So do you think this is legal or not? Well, honestly, it's going to boil down to the contract, and even if the contract is even still valid. I've seen this situation twice in my career. I had it happen about 2 or 3 years ago during COVID with one of my agents. It wasn't $200,000 the builder wanted to up the price. It was closer to, I think, about $47,000, but it still caused a whole lot of headaches, and I want to explain more about that. But let's take a look at this article from Yahoo Finance. In March of 2022, Natalie and Matthew signed a contract to buy a home under construction. They put down a $22,500 deposit on the $450,000 property and expected to move in by November 2022, which was the date the developer estimated the project would be completed. But 2 years after handing over the money, the couple still didn't have a home to live in, and now the home is finished. They're being told by the developer that if they want to complete the purchase, they're going to have to spend another $200,000 in the process. I think it's outrageous, Matthew said, and he's not wrong. But the question is, what rights do he and Natalie have? Delays aren't the only problem with new construction. Delays aren't uncommon in the context of new residential construction. There are a host of factors that can cause a new home built to take longer than planned. For one thing, municipalities might take their time issuing the right permits, and there can be backlogs for getting inspections throughout the construction process. Developers can also experience delays in getting their hands on the right materials. Construction Dive reported in February 2024 that despite being 4 years out from the start of the pandemic, builders are dealing with ongoing shortages of materials. Weather-related delays can also cause a new home build to take longer than anticipated. But there's a big difference between modest delays and a 2-year delay. Matthew told WSVN-TV that during that lag, he called the developer repeatedly. Days and weeks would go by and we wouldn't hear back. We would drive by the property periodically and we would see that nothing was going on. It was still just barren land. After about 2 years, work on the home began. Once the shell was up, Matthew asked the company if he could come see the house, and he was told no problem. But when he showed up, he was told to leave and was threatened by his supervisor to get out. Following that experience, he wrote an online review calling the company terrible to do business with. He was then contacted by the company letting him know that his contract had expired and that they'd be willing to reopen negotiations to purchase the property at its current market value of $650,000. Matthew referred back to the contract but didn't see any expiration date anywhere. Regardless, him and Natalie can't afford to spend beyond the $450,000 purchase price they initially agreed on. Howard Finkelstein is a legal expert and the voice of reason behind the Help Me Howard feature on WSVN-TV in Florida. He says that while the situation is challenging, they're not out of luck. Their contract is still valid because it does not expire and does not prohibit posting or view on social media. He also explained that if construction costs increase, the builder can raise the price of the home by up to 6% or $27,000, but not by $200,000. Keep in mind the laws here can vary from state and by what's specific in a contract. The developer's attorney said nothing about an expiration date but claimed Matthew breached the contract by trespassing based on the part of the contract that stated the buyer had to schedule a visit 5 days in advance. Finkelstein said that this wouldn't be classified as a material breach, which means it should not render the original contract invalid. That's the part that really gets me. They're saying that he violated the contract because he didn't give them a 5-day notice to show up and view the property. That is absolutely ridiculous. He didn't mention whether the buyers had been paying rent during the years they should have been able to occupy the new house and start paying down a mortgage. If there was nothing written in the contract to permit a late build, the couple could potentially have recourse against the builder for that added expense. But Finkelstein didn't comment on whether that applied to their situation. Of course, now the house is ready. The buyers are in limbo because they can't afford the new purchase price. They can't sue the developer because of the terms of the contract, but they can arbitrate, which may be a quicker and cheaper alternative that would likely offer the same outcome. Finkelstein thinks it's likely that Matthew would win this type of dispute, but there's no guarantee. The developer has agreed to return the deposit if the buyers walk away, so now they have a tough decision to make. If you find yourself buying new construction, it's important to have an attorney review your contract to make sure there are no hidden traps. Now, one thing this article doesn't mention is if these buyers had their own agent helping them or if they were using the builder's agent. It mentions nothing about real estate agents being involved in this transaction, which to me doesn't make much sense. According to the Alper Real Estate Group, a contract with a provision known as a material escalation clause, which allows your builder to increase your home's purchase price if its costs come in higher than expected, could really throw your budget off track. So it's important to know what rights you have and what rights your builder has. It's also important for a home construction contract to specify exactly what deliverables are included so there are no surprises. For example, it should expressly state what materials are going to be used in various parts of a home, what appliances your builder will provide, and so forth. The more detail there is, the more protection you're likely to get. So the bottom line, it's all going to be about the contract. When I went through this ordeal with one of my agents, the issue was that the buyer and the builder kept having to extend the closing date and extend the contract. They kept doing addendums. Well, finally, the builder refused to sign an extension because he said that he was losing money because all the prices for materials, everything has skyrocketed, and now he's losing money building a house. So he asked for a $47,000 price increase, which the buyer ended up agreeing to, but they actually had to go back to the bank and they had to get pre-approved for the higher dollar amount. Let me give you one more example of a situation that happens that's right along with this. This happened to a buyer of ours about a year ago. And this buyer is buying a brand new townhome in a brand new subdivision where all the homes are owned by the builder. Well, 2 days before closing, the builder decides to cut prices. He cut prices on all the units by $20,000. Well, the buyer saw this, and the buyer comes to me and says, why would I close on this property and lose $20,000 the day I signed the contract or the day I closed on the property? It doesn't make any sense. So we had to go back to the builder and say, look, you just reduced all these prices by $20,000. It's not fair for me to pay the same price, and I want you to drop the price by $20,000 and I'll close on time. Well, the builder actually did it. He dropped the price for this buyer and matched the prices of all the other units, which made sense, and I'm really glad he did. But if you're buying a new construction property in a new subdivision, you need to pay close attention to all the prices and make sure before you close that your price is right in line with all the other homes in that subdivision for sale. If that builder or developer is dropping prices, you might want to reconsider your price and see what you can do. Maybe you can go back and renegotiate. Well, that'll do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please let me know. As always, I really appreciate you watching. Make sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't. It means a lot to my channel, and I really appreciate it. As always, thanks and have a great day.